What's going on, everyone? This is Brady Harrington, and you are listening to the P.U.M.P Podcast. P.U.M.P stands for Prepare Ultimate Mental Performance. This episode is brought to you by Hoop Culture. Hoop Culture is your off-the-court, unique and authentic basketball streetwear. You can use our 10% off code HCFAM-PUMP. I repeat, HCFAM-PUMP to receive 10% off your next order. If you have any questions after the episode or you want to reach out for new ideas, please reach out to Harrington, HARRINGTON, pump@gmail.com, or you can reach out to our Instagram page, P.U.M.P_pod. I really appreciate you giving this a listen. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. What's going on, everyone? It's Brady Harrington, and we have made it to episode 10 of the P.U.M.P Podcast. I feel like it's about 3-4 months, long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while. Episode 10 is a special one. I got to get the right guy for it. So right after, I got Mark Ryan, the assistant coach for Binghamton University baseball program. Had you on the list. We've been talking about it constantly. Episode like, all right, man, like when you get it on, I'm like, I gotta get you on episode 10. We gotta have like a little 10 episode and an anniversary type of deal. But I'm excited, man. So first time I got a baseball guy on. Like I said, I'm trying to spread some things out. I'm trying to, I got the basketball lockdowns, golf a little bit ago, soccer. Just had lacrosse last week, and like we were just talking about, I think baseball is definitely arguably one of the toughest sports mentally in general. There's just so many aspects to it.
Yep.
So you played, and how I got to know you played at Elmira College, 2017 to 2021. Played third base and middle infield there. Graduated from Connecticut, and also obviously now being at BU and coaching at Elmira. After that for 3 years, I miss golfing out in Elmira. I miss the golf days. Got to get that in sometime. But just talking about, we'll start a little bit from the beginning, going to your playing career, and we talked about a lot already. But what was, just looking back on your playing career now, being a coach? What were some things you struggled with, or what were some things that you've taken away now that you've developed better as overall as a person that you took away from high school and college athletics?
I think looking back on my career and some mental stuff that I might have handled or dealt with at the time, I probably didn't recognize what was going on, but you know how I am everyday life. I'm a perfectionist. So playing a sport where you fail a lot more than you're successful, and that was probably the toughest struggle for me.
Yep.
Just handling the failure and not allowing myself to, accept the fact that I'm not going to be perfect at all times. And I guess some other things, like looking back on time in college and stuff, I just don't think I was prepared. I didn't prepare myself properly on a regular basis to, have the type of career that whether I was projected to have or the career I wanted to have, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I want to ask you before you get into anything else, what do you think is I guess we'll say before a game, what do you think is the proper preparation? Is there anything that like you wish you did beforehand, either like a routine or anything like that?
Working out, taking reps a little more seriously, things of that nature that I probably took advantage of at the time and just thought I could roll out of bed and play at the level I wanted to. It just wasn't going to happen. Things sped up for me. I played a lot my freshman year before getting hurt, but it was still, things were quick. Like I said, I just wasn't prepared as well as I think I should have been on a regular basis. So, and with the lack of preparation probably led to a lot of the injuries that I had. So I think those are probably the biggest things that I dealt with on a regular basis as a player that, has turned or helped me kind of start this career in coaching, understanding that I have to put in more preparation now than I ever had to as a player, taking pride in my work. Like I said, I am a perfectionist, so every day it's just making sure I'm on top of everything, getting my scouting reports done, getting my recruiting done, trying not to trying to cover every base when it comes to recruiting too, to make sure we're getting the right guys and guys that fit what we want to do here at Binghamton. It's still early. It's only month 2 for me. Still getting my feet wet over here. But when I was at Elmira, I was lucky because Gonk gave me complete control since day one. He said, "This is your infield. This is your hitting group." So I had to mature very quickly. He's probably the biggest reason why I am where I'm at today. Obviously, a ton of people in my circle that helped me through the low moments early in that coaching career, handling losses, stuff like that. But I was surrounded by a great group of guys early that were willing to let me come in and coach them right away. It was an interesting dynamic. I had a lot of my old teammates and roommates, and then I also had my brother on the team. Um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
It's tough to negotiate
yeah,
the.
so it was interesting with all the responsibility that Gonk gave me. It definitely it made me make sure that I was covering all the bases when it comes to preparation and making sure that I'm getting my guys prepared on a level that they need to be to go compete on a daily basis. So, I think you mix all of that into what I'm doing now and the type of career that I'm trying to pursue. It's had more effect than I probably thought it would have at the time.
Yeah, no, that's great. And going back to the beginning when you talked about failure, and like you said, baseball's a very meticulous sport that has so many highs and lows. And on top of that, it's also a sport where there's some things you just can't control because, say you'll have a whole lot of plays come your way that day, or, once you get to the
Yeah,
plate, I mean, normal game, you have 4, maybe 5 opportunities to make the most of what you have. So now being in the coaching mind and just establishing, you were well aware now, failure and preparation were the 2 biggest things that went your way. How do you go about that now with your guys, just experiencing failure, and what for you, now you have like your own process and you figured it out in the past, for people that are like you that expect perfection, because if you do something well,
yeah,
usually when you do something well 3
yeah.
out of 10 times, usually not a good thing. In baseball, that's great. Well, those other 7 times, what's your approach so far, just coaching wise, and making sure your players, I guess, didn't make that same couple mistakes that you did with battling failure and like not letting it get the most of you?
Probably how I'm challenging them on a daily basis, right? I don't want them to come into practice and feel good every single day when they leave. I think there are times where they need to come in and feel challenged and see that they might not have had the best day on the ball field, but those days are where we get better. And whether you notice it in the moment or not, you're starting to understand how to live with failure, make adjustments, and then handle it in a manner that you can come back the next day and be successful. Not letting those moments continue to pile up and carry on to the next day,
Yeah,
because like Gonk always said, that's the best part about baseball. There's always tomorrow. It's not like football where you got to wait an entire week to play one more game. A lot of the time, whether it's pro ball or college ball, we're playing 2, 3 days in a row, and you'll have one day off, and then you're back at it the day after that.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's the funny part to it as well, is that that's the good
Yeah,
part to your
yeah,
schedule, playing a lot, but also you got to stay consistent all those days. Like it, say if you are, doing well or you're on a successful streak. All right, now we got to wake up and get right back to it tomorrow. There's no time to celebrate this, or there's no time to live in the past. Like we got to focus on that now. So, you bring a good point to both ends of baseball, that there's a lot of repetition to it
at the end
and
of
a
the
lot
day,
of things to get
if you
into.
can challenge yourself in practice and experience the feeling of being uncomfortable, not every day, right? Like, I'm not gonna dial up the machine and put it on top of my guys every single day and make them feel like they can't perform. But 2 out of the 5, 6 days of the week when we are going and practicing, they need to be challenged at a high level to understand how to handle some adversity and then make adjustments in a way that we can be successful our next step at.
Yeah, and it's good to make mistakes. Like, got to have a culture where don't get comfortable making mistakes, but you also got to accept them. And I always tell my guys, and you're probably on the similar page too, to where if you're obviously the effort is something you can control. If you're going as hard as you can and your focus is there, you are working your tail off, you're doing everything you possibly can. It just didn't go your way that day, or you made a couple of mistakes. Would much rather have that than kind of coasting, going through every last bit of the
Yeah,
motions and doing an okay job of being comfortable with that. I think like having that just for any culture, any team, and just an individual athlete, it's nice to have in your mind. Yes, don't get comfortable with mistakes, but
yeah,
when you do make them, make sure you're working hard at it, one, and two, that you're learning from it. Because if you obviously, if it's repetitive and you keep doing the same mistakes, that's obviously the clear definition of
yeah,
insanity. But going forward with that, it's nice. Like you said, talking about failure and making that a positive thing for your environment, and that
every little
just creates
thing
more.
matters. Your reps. You know, I wasn't as meticulous about certain things or the way I took ground balls or rounds of BP that I took as a player. But now as a coach, it's important for me, and the guys at Elmira can attest to this. Like every little thing mattered that we did. Talent isn't always gonna carry us through whatever we're doing. So making sure that every ground ball we take and every swing we take has a purpose behind it with an approach. And a lot of the time, once the lights turn on, if you've prepared in that manner and you've treated everything like it's game seven, then you'll probably find yourself in the winning circle a lot more often.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's great. And I wanted to touch on this actually before. I probably should have led with this. Your current situation right now, and I actually haven't even been able to talk to you about too much, but being from, you're in Endicott, 10, 15 minutes away from BU, what's the feeling like? I mean, just getting that is like, just over, I know like I'm going to go a little off track, back to it, but getting a position that's especially in your hometown. I'm assuming you've been around Binghamton baseball your whole life in general. You know the coaching staff very well beforehand. What's that feeling like of being able to work just for your hometown school and that like sense of pride and that just in general feeling like what was your first couple of feelings of emotion?
Being
And
back was probably most excited for. Elmira's not far away, but like you said, it's something different that
Mhm.
not a lot of people get to experience. And it's also pretty cool for us here. All four of us on staff are from Section 4 Binghamton area. So it's our coaching staff has been built
Great,
on
great.
trust and relationships that have been long lasting. So all those things combined with the fact that, growing up, I obviously hoped that I could be good enough to come play here in college. Obviously, all those things don't always work out, but um, when I got into coaching, it was an obvious goal of mine that I wanted to reach the highest level of baseball that I could. It was something that I probably thought about and obsessed over a little too much at times, but I think that's a big reason why it ended up happening.
Yep.
Like I said, I couldn't have done it without Gonk and the people in my circle. You know, being back home and getting to the Division One level has been pretty cool for me, pretty special. I know that everyone around me has shown a lot of support and they've been very excited for me too, which is something I'm very thankful for. But for it to happen as quick as it did as well, I didn't expect it to kind of work out this way or as quickly as it did. Only being at Elmira for 3 years and then getting the call from Skip was pretty cool for me. I worked a lot of camps, been around this program for a long time, so I'm very thankful that
Yeah.
Skip and the rest of the staff, thought of me when the job opened up, and it was then pretty evident that I couldn't say no or turn it down. So it was a short phone call home, a quick conversation, and quick conversation with my parents. I probably made about, I don't know, 10, 15 calls uh, to people that, teammates, other coaches, people that I trust, and just wanted to hear their side of it. And called Gonk right away. And I wanted some advice, and he told me the usual, you're a big boy, you can make this decision. But I think, at the end of the day, my mind was made up even
Yep.
prior to making those phone calls. Like I said, it was something I couldn't say no to. And now I'm about 2 months in, we finished the fall, and it's
Yeah.
probably more than I could have ever expected. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, it has to be a great feeling just having that and come full circle. Yeah, I wanted to touch down that because that was that should have been my proper intro, but I definitely want to touch in on that. Make sure and for others too that I feel like people think sometimes going back home for any type of job or just in general going back home for wherever life takes you is a bad thing. But once you put it in perspective, like,
Yeah.
and everyone has their different ways to go about things. Some just completely want to get away, but
Hmm.
doing what you love and being back home, being around the people you love, a lot of family, a lot of closer friends, it's a great feeling in general. And there's no feel like people have like a shame in that, like either like going to school, like it kind of ties back around to going to school locally. Like I went to obviously you're only an hour away from home, and I went to Broome Community College my first 2 years, and yeah, it's just, everyone I feel like they need to go far away or they getting that job that's wherever in Florida, wherever in North Carolina, wherever out west is so much better than being home. And overall, I just feel like wherever the right opportunity is, you take it.
I think I'm also lucky that this is in our hometown. The facilities we have.
Yeah, yeah. Having Binghamton University is it's done wonders
Not
for
many
the
people
area
get to
to say
walk
the least.
into an environment that I get to walk into every day, especially at the college level. So that makes it a lot easier. But for me personally, I knew that I didn't want to go far away for school. I want to be near my family. They were able to come out and watch a lot more than I expected them to, especially once Mace got there as well. A regular occurrence that the entire family was out there on the weekend watching us. But I love the town, the community, the support that I have back home. So it was a pretty easy decision when the job was offered to me. And I've never really had any shame in staying home or wanting to stay home. This job has given me more than enough opportunities to go travel
Yeah,
and see new places, especially on the recruiting side of things. So yeah, so
exactly. Yeah,
that side of
it'll
it,
always come with it.
having a
There's
job that
always
allows you, kind of forces you to travel as much as we have to, makes it a little easier to return home and because you're still getting that other side of it that a lot of people crave, and it's seeing new things and traveling new places. But I definitely have best of both worlds. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah, and you touched on it perfectly because and that's one of my favorite parts about recruiting is that for a living you're having the opportunity to check out new places. Like when you do have that opportunity to check out new places and meet new people and check out new environments in general. It's very cool, and when you're open minded to it, it's good to have it for refreshing. But staying staying on that track a little bit, like I've so far this first 20 minutes have came across a little bit of a common theme. Describe the importance of
Yeah,
having so you've already mentioned a lot about family, close friends, people you trust, coaches. As an athlete
yeah,
and a coach, and just in general in everyday life of just being an adult now, like how just starting from your athletic career to coaching, how's that progression for you, and where's that in your range of just thinking about what's the most important thing to me and just really it's hard to really put a word on it on how just truly important it is to have those people you can go to and those people that you trust on the business side, on on professional
yeah.
side, and also just casual or just everyday life side. How have you taken advantage of that opportunity, because it sounds like you do have a great just circle of people around you. What just describe to everyone like what is that like, and
The
how can you
career
get
path
that?
and the coaching side now. These people have always been in my corner no matter what it
Yeah,
was, baseball, life, golf, anything. But for me, it's a lot easier to recognize right now just because of this career path that I'm trying to pursue, and having the support and the backing to go and follow it. But in this industry, you need those people to lean on at the end of the day. They're more important than probably a lot of young coaches or individuals breaking into this industry understand. I look back at the early years at Elmira, and the wins weren't coming as we expected them to. A lot of ups and downs, frustrations, I guess,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
lack of better term, trying to just perfect how I was as a professional, and I needed those peers, needed the family, needed, just people I've met in the industry through recruiting, stuff like that, to run ideas by. So, like I said, that side of it is more important than showing up to work every day and trying to get through it on your own. Like I said, you can't really do it on your
yeah,
own, so trying to, compress some feelings or some frustrations and not having an outlet can be more detrimental at the end of the day. You're going home and trying to handle losses on your own instead of getting your mind off things or being around people that mean a lot to you. That can make this job and this career path pretty difficult. And I think at the end of the day, that's why we see a lot of turnover. Is if you're trying to do this alone, it's pretty hard to do.
yeah. And you made a lot of great points because you don't know when you're gonna you're gonna need it the most, but when you do have the people around you, and we could even talk about like say like when you were playing, say you're going through a tough 5 game slump individually, and if I think in my mind right now, all right, past three
Yeah.
games, I'm shooting like two for 17 from three, which of course that never happened to me. No, no way. But I can immediately think right now the first three people I would talk to about it to just like kind of get it off my mind or just go over some things. And I think it's important for people to almost establish a mental list in their mind. It really does help with mental performance in athletics and in the workforce, everything. Just who can you go to? There's some people specifically that you can vent to just to straight up get it off your chest. There's some people that you can have effective conversations and it's a back and forth where you just learn and try to become better at whatever you want to do and anything that you're, facing challenge with. So yeah, that close circle, that group of people you have, it just needs to be. I guess for whoever's listening to this, if you can't think of a quick three people that you can truly trust and give to whatever them, I would reevaluate.
Finding the outlet is probably the most crucial aspect of it all. I reflect on my playing career, and I didn't really have an outlet. I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
there was golf. It wasn't always the warmest early in the season when things aren't going your way. The phone calls home would, yeah, the phone calls home.
yeah. It's like
They were
a
always
cold both
supportive.
ways sometimes, man.
They could be, they were a lot of the time mechanical from what I remember, trying to help me get out of a slump, and everything was coming from a good place, but I never allowed myself to really check out and kind of give my mind a reset. And I think that's probably the biggest difference now when I'm talking about it and thinking about it more. I have outlets. I've really tried hard in my professional career to not take work home at the end of the day. As difficult as that is, and the losses are tough to leave in the locker room or in the office. It's been a big goal of mine to make sure that, like I said, I don't take anything home, but then I also always have an outlet, whether that's talking to somebody or just having interests outside of the sport itself. And I know that's difficult for some people because it is their life, but that for me has been the biggest game changer, and where
Yep, yep.
I've been able to find more joy in what I do on a daily basis because I have the outlets. I think back to all the conversations we used to have at Patrick, stuff like that, and those outlets are huge, but also
Yeah,
making sure that you have other interests in life and things that you can kind of turn to when
yeah. Having that
no.
fine, having that fine balance, because after a while, you can't always talk about it. You're gonna get burnt out. You need that. All right, let me just debrief, take that completely off my mind, put to the side, and just enjoy yourself. And with that as well, there's levels to it too. So basically the top tier of it, like we said, the first three people you think of, the
Yeah.
family members, the close family friends, the close friends, significant others, etc. And then what I've come to learn just throughout even like these past 5 years, because things change all the time. I've moved around. This is actually the first time I've been out of school longer than a year. It's like it's constant and just trying to move up and bounce around. But now establishing that second tier and third tier of people in your circle as well. You touched on this briefly, and kind of one of the top reasons I wanted to start this podcast really is,
Mm-hmm.
having that third party person go to is almost like that second level. And that's basically someone
Yep.
who's not really involved, like not a close family member, friend, anything like that. It's not someone you work with every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, say if you're a player, it's not like a coach you go to because that's like one of your main outlets. I feel like for everyone to have a third person party who gives a complete different perspective, and like, I mean,
Yep.
professional athletes are becoming more and more open about this, but I truly believe no matter if you're at the top peak of your career in anything you do or in athletics, or if you're at the very lows of lows, no matter where you're at, having someone even like,
Yep.
a counselor, therapist, anything like that in sports, it's very important. We've had conversations about this before, and you just said it yourself, you didn't really have that true outlet
Yeah.
of, yes, like you said,
Yep.
you can call home, you can call dad, you call your brother, call anyone like that. But do you also have someone that, because not all schools obviously have sports psychologists, sports therapists, etc. Who can you go to that will help you with these type of things so you don't take anything on alone? Because yes, being independent for some things are important, and you got to learn to be independent and figure things out yourself. But there are other times where
Yeah.
it is nice to go to someone, even if it's on some type of routine or in any time of need. And uh, I like
Yeah.
touching down that stuff because nobody will ever know they need it until something slaps me in the face. And I can even consider it, looking back on playing career right now, the time you might need it the most sometimes is when you're doing very well because you want to learn and track how to stay at a consistent level. Because everyone always thinks, oh, the only time you need to go to someone or having that third party person is when you're not doing well, you're in a slump, you need to get out of what you're doing right now with conflict.
Something that it wasn't really something that it was just kind of starting to break through and become a thing towards the end of my playing career. So that is probably one of the bigger recommendations I can make now is, if the resources are in front of you as a student athlete, take advantage of them. Like you said, not every institution is lucky enough to have that, but I've been in two places now where Elmira has it and Binghamton has it as well. And I've seen the benefits of my student athletes going and taking advantage of those resources. So that's a huge piece of advice that I would give to any younger athlete right now starting the recruiting process or going through any type of athletic struggle, whether that's performance or mental. Just put yourself out there, take advantage of the resources, and I think at the end of the day you're going to be setting yourself up for a lot more success just because you're checking off all those boxes. And like you said, it's a lot more balanced lifestyle at that point.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's hard to realize when you're 17, 18 years old because a lot of people within your age group are like, oh, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I heard Mark's
Yeah.
going to a sports psychologist. Like, there must be something wrong with him. And that's not the case. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't mean have like baggage with you or have anything that you bring along with you that is negative. That just means
Yeah.
you're doing your job mentally preparing to better yourself every day. And I agree. I think it truly, like, obviously the
Yeah.
daily
Yeah. Yeah.
mental health has just skyrocketed in these past couple of years, especially since COVID. But even before that,
Mm-hmm.
you did start to see professional athletes come out and say just describe the importance of going to that third party person, because there's another thing, there's no shame in. There's no shame in, because like the public eye might think, oh, there's something wrong
Mm-hmm.
with them, stay away from them, they're going to do this, but that's just them. Like I said, that's just them trying to get better, trying to uh, either stay consistent and do well with their routine, or let's find alternative options by yourself and go through that process. It's especially getting to that college level, man. There's so much every day. And obviously, just being a coach in general, you're sometimes like a sports psychologist in general. Like, you just go through that. And you go through that, you see it, you talk with your players about a couple of things. So there's a lot to it that needs to be touched up more on, and it's highly recommended. And I hope another point to this podcast is getting that, those younger athletes, even college level and professional level, is accepting it and using their resources. So, very, very good stuff. Moving forward, because I just told you, you'll find some common theme and you can run with it. And going back into a little bit, we got into your playing career, moving on into coaching, but with baseball specifically, and there's a very important thing that I wanted to touch down on. There's slumps, though I mentioned a little bit already. I had it when I played shortstop in high school. The case of the yips.
Yeah.
I mean, I think golf and baseball are neck and neck for when you get the yips. God, you feel like you are on an island and no one is even close to you, and it feels like a million eyes that are looking at every little detail at you, just what you're doing wrong. From your experience, because you've been around baseball in every aspect, I've had like a little piece of it, but not as much. One, have you figured out a cure of how to, I guess, get rid of the yips, or like, give me your overall feeling of the yips in baseball, and what is it like in your eyes, and how do you get over it? How can you successfully?
Yeah.
Because I talked with, and I talked with James Cundy about this when he hopped on talking about golf. He made an awesome point about saying you're going to make mistakes, especially in golf, and the mental thought of every little thing you do, but how long does it last? Like he mentioned, I had a bad drive in the woods. I'm dropping for 3. Can I turn it around and focus on
Yeah.
this next shot, or is it still in my head? Man, why'd I snap that drive over? Like in baseball, for example, why'd I swing at that pitch in the dirt, or why did I
Yeah.
lift my glove early on a ground ball? So I know it was a long roundabout way with this question, but I wish I looked into this early when I played in high school and in college for 2 years, because it's the real deal, man. It's the real deal, and everyone goes through it. So, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on
I
it?
mean, I've only really come across or been around the yips once or twice now. That's something that I don't know if anyone has an answer to. It's yeah. Um I don't know. I don't know the cure there, but when it comes to slumps, I guess I can talk more about that. I was watching or a clip popped up today. It was Pete Rose talking, and it was talking about slumps. So it's kind of ironic that you brought it up, but everything that he discussed as to how he would try and break out of slumps, it never came down to anything mechanical. I look back on my playing career, and it was a slippery slope. Too much mechanics, not enough just like get in the box and compete, right? Thinking too much, trying to put your body in certain positions that you can't be thinking about
Yep.
when a guy's looking down the barrel at you about to throw an 85-mile-per-hour fastball. It's already hard enough to do to begin with. You add all those thoughts in the mix with that, it's not really a recipe for success at that point. We're seeing it right now with Judge. I have my opinions on this. I think it. You start pressing, and he's obviously
Come on, Aaron.
pressing,
Come
wants to
on,
do
Aaron.
something pretty special. I don't know what conversations are being had behind closed doors. They have more resources and information in front of them than we could ever imagine. So it also proves that it's super
God,
tough to
I
get
can
out
only
of it. It's
imagine what the
easy to
process
sit
is
here
right
and
now.
say, swing at pitches we can do damage with, stop chasing balls, chasing the breaking ball in the dirt. But at the end of the day, if you have these negative thoughts in your head, like you talked about when you're standing in the box or before that ground ball's hit at you and you're a little nervous to make a throw across the diamond, it's only going to make things worse. The slump isn't going to, magically end at that point. Mookie went through a little slump a couple weeks ago, and for him, he tried to outswing the slump, and eventually it worked. Other guys I know, they have other methods that they need to work through and process and retrain that mind to put themselves in a more positive mindset when they get in the box. So I don't think I can give one answer to it.
Everyone has their own ways, really.
Yeah,
What do you think? What do you think is the most effective?
just trust the preparation. At the end of the day, I think it's easy to say because it's a lonely place to be when you're going through a slump like Judge is going through right now. But if you can always revert back to your routines, kind of get back to where you were when you were having success, both mechanically and mentally, I think that's kind of when you start to break through the slumps. Couple knocks start falling more than they have been, whether they're barreled or not. Really, it just takes a couple, and then next thing you know, you're off to the races, and the confidence is back up through the roof. So I think going back, like I said, going back and trusting all the preparation you've done and always reverting back to your routine. I think now in my career and my coaching career, I'm bigger on routines than anything else because when things start to go bad, you can always revert back to, you know, where you were a couple weeks ago or where you were when you were having success. It's the baseline. You can always return back to it. If you can trust the routine, trust the process, eventually you're gonna break out of it. They don't last forever. You just kind of got to trust it. As hard as it is, you just got to trust it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And at least for
yeah,
Aaron Judge, like it's not like he has any pressure. Like it's not like the New York sports fan base is like on top of his shoulders right now. And yeah, like, I mean, if you look at it too, I mean, I think we all very well know by now Aaron Judge has most likely put the work in ahead of time. So, like you said, mechanically, probably not the issue. And it's crazy when people take that approach of, all right, what do I need to fix? Am I, taking my stride too early? Am I loading up too late? At the end of the day, just going there and like you said, it's easy to say, don't overthink it, go in there, don't swing the
yeah,
bat pitch. It's more of just reflection now of if I keep mentioning previous people a lot, but when I had
hmm
Coach JC Brooks on, women's assistant for the UB basketball
yep,
program. She talked about confidence and cockiness, like the difference,
yeah,
and confidence comes from that work that you put in. So, referring to Judge, I mean, I
yeah,
think his confidence should obviously still be there. It's tough to keep it there because you're in a slump, but you put the work in and you in your mind have earned this and deserve where you're at right now. And I think a lot of younger athletes need to put that in perspective that obviously it starts with the work ethic. That's why work ethic is one of the most important things you just do in life. Because if you're starting to have second thoughts and you're lacking confidence,
right,
that's because you didn't put the work in ahead of time. You didn't do what you're supposed to do behind closed doors. That's something no one can fix. That's something that you got to look
right,
yourself in the mirror and you got to go fix that in the off season, preseason, etc. But if it is, if you did put that work in, you're very confident with your work ethic. Now it's time to find the patterns, find the right
yep,
patterns that have helped you get to that point and that can get you back on track. Because going back to the failure as well, it's going to happen. How long can we make that last? Hopefully, as short as possible. And
yeah.
we always say this with our
Celebrate the little
basketball
things
program:
always.
you got to celebrate everything, even the most little
hmm
things. Like, yeah, say if he reaches
hmm
base tomorrow on
Yeah,
a miss hit infield single,
yep,
celebrate it, bring it forward with you. Those type of things, like those little, very little things, bring it back. Like with basketball, say if you even get like bailed out for something, say if you
yeah,
get a couple free throws in there, you get your confidence back. You see the ball go through the hoop. Go. You make a 5 foot putt because sometimes people. Yeah, maybe I'm just putting myself at a disadvantage already. But
yeah,
sometimes people are like, oh yeah, that's a gimme, that's good. I'm like, nah, man, I want to see one go in. I gotta see a putt go in because I'm struggling right now. So I guess just putting it all together and just making sure
yeah,
if you're always thinking about the negatives and what you've done wrong and what you've done. Like I've seen coaching philosophies, uh, older coaches, they just did film sessions,
yeah,
strictly the right things that they did and all the good things because I kind of got sucked into this last year a little bit, like doing this to myself. It was so easy find every last detail and pick it apart in film sessions with our guys and say, hey, you did this wrong, you did this wrong.
Yeah.
You sometimes got to take a step back and let's just look at the positive things and just think about that, because if you keep thinking about that, it'll get you in the right direction. Because yes, and you said this already too, 2 of those 6 days of practice, you want it to be difficult. You want them to fail. You want them to be in an environment that challenges them. But those other 4 days, you want to make sure that, and it's hard to do sometimes, especially as a coach, but just being the overall positivity, you got to find the right things to keep a player mentally in the right space. So it's a lot with slumps, man. It's a lot as a team, as an individual. How can you get your way out? Because you dug it for yourself, or you dug it for your team, but there's always, a way to get out
You're
something.
going to lose the swing. Probably multiple times you're going to lose the swing throughout the course of a season. Right? Like, you can wake up feeling a different part of your swing or feeling off every day of the week in the season. Having that understanding, okay, it's not always going to be perfect, but I got to find a way to go compete and get the job done for my team. That's also a big factor in maybe those slumps not lasting as long as they could have. Accepting and embracing the fact that it's going to happen. You can't avoid them. You're going to lose the swing and it's going to happen. But how quickly can I revert back to the routine and get myself out of this and just compete? Even if I'm not feeling my best, just finding a way to compete and get the job done, no matter what it takes.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Sticking with just the commonalities that happen in baseball all the time. As you've seen both ends of things and you've had a couple of years under your belt by now. During the season, how easy is it for, I want to make sure I word this the right way. I guess I'll say how hard is it, because we already talked about preparation a little bit, but during those games, say it's the middle of the season, I refer to basketball, especially as during the winter time. You're waking up in the morning, it's upstate New York, 20 degrees, snowing. You're probably sick. You're probably dog tired because you only got 5 hours of sleep. For baseball, I guess those overall factors that play in, just the wear and tear and the grind of the season. What's that like? Because it's different with every sport, and I feel like with baseball, it has its own just specialty of that middle of the season grind. Because obviously with the MLB, I mean, I always say, I was just at the Pirates Reds game a couple months ago. I'm sitting there in center field enjoying my nice 80-degree perfect summer day. Obviously, PNC Park is just, oh god, I gotta get back there as soon as I can. But I'm sitting there and I'm basically like, I put myself in a quick perspective of, all right, I wonder what the day like tonight's like for the center fielder. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if I'm playing center field every day, I'm at beautiful ballparks and this and that, I'm enjoying life. I'm never taking it for granted. But game 63 is the same routine, it's the same stuff, and you overlook it sometimes. And especially in baseball, like you said, day in, day out, it's one after another, the doubleheaders, the back-to-back games. What have you found to be successful to get up for those average, just nothing special to it game, like none of those like primetime games or no under the lights, just middle of the day, getting up for it. What's your take on all of that? Just for the
That's
baseball
something that I
lens
really
of
haven't
things.
thought about.
It's overlooked a lot. I mean, it's always overlooked, and I think, like I said, for baseball the most, because basketball, you get those day offs or you get a couple days of practice, work at it, then get back to it. Football, like you said, you got the whole week, and then that, Sunday or Saturday or even Monday night. All right, man, get back
experience for me. Division 3 level. You're still playing a lot of games, but it's still it'll be an adjustment period for me this year. So I think it's pretty easy to come to work here every day. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really found myself dragging myself to the office when you're walking into what we have. We're very lucky. But those days in Elmira when we're going up to the domes at 8 p.m. for 2-hour practice, those are tough. But I found myself tricking the brain a lot, whether I want the guys to know it or not. I was finding ways to trick them, still finding the balance of, you know, accomplishing what we need to accomplish to make sure that we're prepared for the weekend without it, being forced down their throat or making them feel drained before they even walk into practice when they see the practice plan. So on my end, I love what I do. I don't really find myself, this might be a naive thing to say, but I haven't really found myself dragging to get up for a game. I think that's the ultimate competitor in me. I kind of get into a headspace that is tough to, you know, break down at a certain point. I want to compete and I want to win every single day when I show up. So it's like I said, it's not really a drag, but now in my job it comes down to how can I, like I said, somewhat trick these guys into taking a background or a backside round seriously, or taking rolled ground balls seriously. Those things at Elmira,
Mm-hmm.
those nights in the domes aren't always fun. So finding the balance, trying to make it fun still, trying to get the guys up and making sure that they're respecting every rep, but also trying to accomplish everything we need to without, putting everything on their plate. Let me take the brunt of it. Let me handle those longer nights. Let's just kind of keep things as easy as we can mentally for the guys, so that it never feels like a drag or a drain
Yeah.
by the time practice is done. And it's, we still got 2 weeks before we head down south. So I don't know if that's the answer to the question that you were
There you
looking
go.
for, but
No, and I like that perspective because a lot of people just say, "Oh, don't take it for granted. Don't overthink it. Don't like just you should enjoy it. Like if you love the game, then you're gonna do that." But like I know for a fact how much I love basketball and being an ultra competitor and getting up after it. But I think who said it before? I believe it was Blake Griffin actually, and he always talked about obviously, hey, it's very easy to get up for those primetime games, get up for this and that. But he also mentioned, he's like, listen, I love the game of basketball through and through, but there's going to be times that you're just human,
yeah,
and that day is just not your day, and you don't want to do a damn thing, and you don't like, and it happens, it really does, like either way, like somehow, some way.
yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously,
yeah, yeah.
tricking your brain isn't like a good day to day thing to do
You got
because
to find something new.
you
Yeah,
got to trick your brain every day to do something that you think you like. You don't like it. You're like, no, I do like that because it is a good like alternative to bring in to your player sometimes or bring into yourself of even just that. Just get some energy
yeah,
going by, and I love people that rah rah like clap it up, get it going. Clap. It is
yeah.
contagious. Just moving that energy
I
around a
think
little bit, just to at least get you going. So yeah, I mean anything you do.
in a day that G didn't show up, and he never took a day off. And in my 2 months here, Skip, Herba, Mike, they
You
had
can't.
not
You
taken a
can't.
single day off. Fall ball, you're not really playing for anything at the end of the day. So it's and fall ball at our level is a lot longer than what it was at the Division 3 level. So you're going 2.5 months of like, what are we're playing 3 games towards the back end of this fall
What am I
season.
playing for?
We're not chasing a championship right now, but it's a lot easier when the culture and the people that you surround yourself with bring it on every level every single day. You're not going to allow yourself to check out if the people above you are you know dialed in as much as the people I've been around. I've been very lucky and blessed so
Yeah.
far. That, I think, going back to your original question, that made things a lot easier for me as well. I couldn't show up and take the day off because, first of all, G was gonna stay on top of me, and I'm sure Skip would do the same here. But if those guys are ripping at the level that they are, then I got to bring the juice too, and
Yep.
make sure that I'm always checking the box, making sure that nothing is rubbing off on the guys, and don't allow them to see that you're a little tired or drained or don't want to be there.
Anything that comes from the top, man, it's quick. It's quick, and that's why the coach at Houston and coaches try to use it a lot more. Like they say, there's three guys that can't have bad practice: head coach, the point guard, and the best player, because those three are the most effective, the most they radiate off of everything else that comes with it. Oh yeah. And I like the way you mentioned it too. And I kind of thought about this for myself for a second. about like, and this, I really do feel like this is like the theme of the podcast now, but who you surround yourself with, like the environment of the team. I thought, for example, like when I tried over the
Hmm.
summer, I definitely took like a pretty good sized break of just working out, getting to the gym. I was like going by myself the whole time. And it's tough, like just going by yourself
Yep.
all the time. I'm like, maybe I should put myself around other people that
Yeah.
are working towards the same common goal and do that with them. And it's another thing too we said about knowing when to go about things by yourself and knowing when to surround yourself in an environment with more people to bring you with them or bring them with you to that common goal because
Say, that's culture at the end of the day. Culture isn't what's going to be on the walls or the sayings or the quotes on the back of shirts, because those can easily get looked past and not followed. Culture is, in my opinion, how you're showing up every day, how you're preparing. Are you taking your routine seriously? And then, like I said, it rubs
Mhm.
off from the top down. And if the guys at the top, so I'd be one of the guys at the top, if we're checking off every box on our end, then a lot of the guys behind you will follow suit, and then altogether, that buzzword culture that's how culture clicks, and that's how it's built.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it gets twisted up a lot.
Hmm.
I feel like people try to
Yeah.
throw a couple words out there and say, oh, that's our culture, and we're going to do it. Not that easy. Culture is the stuff that you don't even think
Hmm.
about. Culture is the stuff that should naturally happen, and you establish it from start of the season or just start of the program to the end. And because we had the difference of
Yeah.
the culture is on this side, core values is on the other side. And that's like
Hmm.
the buzzwords that you can use. Like we have trust, compete, and embrace. That's when you can
Yeah.
go off that. But the culture, like, oh, we need a better culture. We need a better culture. All right, do you know what that means of having a good culture?
Hmm.
Because that's every little last detail that you
Yep.
do within the team, and that's from the top to the bottom. Like we always say this, and I refer just from what I've learned so far from Elmira basketball, but we talk about even if at the end of the season, say one kid transfers out, okay,
Yep.
even if it's just one kid, and say if it's even a kid that didn't play, our
Yeah.
culture's still going to change because that is an effect and a
Absolutely.
change to our everyday routine and work. So I feel like
Yep.
culture shouldn't be the same thing every time. Like if you're chasing towards and looking to have the same exact culture
Yeah.
day in day out, I feel people are going about it wrong. It's going to always change, and it's almost like culture is almost more of like adaptability and adjusting
An
than
offensive philosophy or a defensive philosophy. But for me, I relate it back to hitting. And what do we want to do as a team offense? Well, our analogy here is we want to be like a set of golf clubs. You can't just rely on the driver. You can't just rely on the long ball every single day, because we're seeing it with the Yanks right now. They rely on the long ball a lot, and that's how, I mean, it worked for pretty much the whole year. And you run into a little slump. Yeah. But you have to have the tools on the other end. It's the hybrid, it's the putter, it's the wedge. You have to have those in check too. So that comes down to bunting, that comes down to getting hit by pitches, that comes down to stealing bases, treating 90 feet like it's the most important part of the game. Is that at the end of the day, then you're probably going to score more runs. That same idea goes into culture. You can't expect, if we hit however many home runs we hit last year at Elmira, right? Well, guess what? They're missing 10 of them this year. So, as an offense, they probably can't rely on the long ball like we did last year. They have to make adjustments and change their identity and their culture as an offensive unit. And then the same thing, like you brought up, a guy transfers out, you graduate guys, freshmen show up, transfers show up. Well, now you got to adjust. You always revert back to like your core values, but you have to find a way to do it with a different group every single year. You can't just be one way and this is it, because a lot of the time with the athletes in this generation, you have to be open to changing your outlook on certain things without losing your core values as a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do like the golf club reference, and it's basically kind of like the tools in the toolbox type of deal too. Like, around the way, because
I
I
know.
should probably
Yeah, you
take
do.
that more seriously myself because I rely on that driver too much, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm crushing it one day, but damn, why am I still getting bogeys? Hold on a second. Maybe I should get something else. But no, it really is good to,
Hmm.
especially you can't lean on only a few things. It's just everything pieced together, and people don't understand. And that's where, like, that's a whole nother kind of conversation. But that's why roles are important, because roles are a part of the culture. That's why everyone, no matter what you're doing, you need to understand that is important. And yeah, the guy that's going for 20 points a game, probably going to be seen a little bit more. But how about the guy in practice that was busting his ass, or that was making him work his tail off in order to get to that game
Hmm.
situation? Like, it's not applaud every time, unfortunately. I try to do as a coach. Like, I want to text my guys sometimes and just say, hey man, just want to let you know. I texted one of my guys the other day. I'm like, hey man, just want to let you know, we expect it out of you. We don't mention it too much, but I do want to let you know and, like, kind of give your flowers. And you were an incredible teammate, like, during the scrimmage. Like, didn't light it up by any means. Like, had a, just an average game, I'd say. But I'm looking at the film and even at the game, and I see just all the other things that he could control. He did as a leader, of picking the guys up, literally grabbing a guy, putting an arm around the shoulder, and putting his chin and moving it up when someone was down. Like, I think also with cultures, you need to understand the importance of everything. Like, our 15th guy on the roster right now, you got to almost treat like they're just as important as one of the starters.
Enough as a program, as an organization, to have guys on the back end that push and compete and play at a high level every day, and they take every little rep seriously. It's just going to push everyone else, first of all, but then towards the back end of that season, you're going to be chasing a conference championship or whatever championship you're going after. For us, it's a regional, super regional. It's more likely for you to be hanging a banner at the end of the year if every single guy on the roster is holding up their own and treating it like they're the starting shortstop.
Making you work for it. Yeah. 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 Because I think every player, that, especially with the starters and everything, that do play a lot, when they know that the toughest thing they have to do. So, say for example, like we go with, like, baseball. Say with just like the pitching and everything like that. Oh, I lost your. I thought you fell for a second. When you talk to a player and say, "Hey, who is the most difficult player to go against, pitching wise?" Like, when you're a hitter, when some of the
Mhm.
guys say their own pitcher in practice, or just like for basketball terms, who's been the toughest guard, like the guy guarding you, and they say someone in practice, that's the best part of establishing a culture. Is the most
Mhm.
difficult time is within your own grounds. So the athletes right now and you're always going to have it, every team, just the overall being a
Yeah.
competitor. Yes, you do want to be on the floor, you do want to be on the field, but there's a reason why. You got the 9 guys out there for baseball, you got the 5 guys out there for basketball. Not everyone's going to get their opportunity every day. And we talk about body language and just how are you able to adjust and adapt to it. And we're not saying become comfortable with that role. Don't be comfortable that you're not getting playing time, but make sure that you're still effective in helping the team with what you're doing, because it is important. Being that bottom guy, we're not going to say, oh, you're not important, you didn't do anything to help with this, because you weren't
Yep.
the one that went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and base knock, man. Like, well, you were the guy that helped them get that extra work in, and
Always.
you're the guy that pushed them, because there should be competition within the team. There should always be competition, and if it's stagnant, complacent, then
Hmm.
that's where culture needs to take a shift. and establish that difficulty for the players.
A lot of the time it does come down to recruiting and the type of kid that you're bringing in.
Yeah.
So from a coach's lens, you always have to, like we said, you have to evolve with the guys that you're given or the guys on your team every year and the type of culture or performance that you're going to have. But it's also on you to make sure that you're bringing in guys that fit your culture and that will embrace your culture and make it better. Are we always going to go 100% on guys like that, especially at Division III level? Like when I was out on the road, it was get them on campus, commit them as quick as we can. There wasn't as much, checking every single aspect of that individual's life. At our level now, there's a lot of digging that we have to do to make sure that at the end of the day, we're not just bringing in a kid that wants to come to Binghamton because of the facility. Stay true to your culture and what you want to do within your program, and make sure that you're bringing in the right ones. And then at the end of the day, your culture is probably going to be a lot better off because of it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to look at it. And I even like talking with recruits on the phone. I'm like, hey, give me 2 of your top priorities that you basically look for in a school. That's one of my favorite questions. Like, what are you? If I basically gave you a clean slate, you don't got to worry about the money. You don't got to worry about anything along those lines. What are the 2 most important things to you on the court, off the court? And 90% of the time, the very first answer is, I want to make sure I step into the right culture, step into the guys, the coaches, etc.
Yeah.
And it's like for the most part, that's our like first time talking on the phone. I'm not gonna dig into their brain and be like, "Oh, what do you mean by that, man? Like, what do you?" I'm not gonna put them on the spot, but I almost want to ask, like, "Hey, like, in your mind, through your eyes, what do you see? Like, what is a good culture to you? And what do you bring to the table that will establish that culture?"
It's easy to say that you want to step into a great culture and want to be a part of something special, but it's on you. You're at the end of the day, you're the one that has to bring something to the table that will impact that program on a positive level when it comes to culture. You can't just show up and expect that culture, it's already dictated. I'm good. It's been that for years. Yeah, changes every year. So you have to, as the athlete, make sure that
changes.
You're bringing something to the table to have a positive impact on it as well. Don't be too quick to just say, "Oh yeah, I want to step in and I want to step into a good culture and experience it." Well, a lot of the time, you have a lot of responsibility in that.
You gotta be the one to affect that. Yeah, no, and any I always like being well rounded, but it's in anything you do, your work culture, your team culture. You need to understand that if you're involved with that, the good culture isn't just going to naturally come to you. You need to be the change, whether you're the leader. There also needs to be good followers as well too. Anything in between. Make sure that you always got to make sure that you can't expect anything. It's not just going to get given. It's not going to be given to you. Like everything you work with, the culture, like it's got to be earned. You got to go out and do what you think is the right thing to do to make it better day in, day out. So I always like, everyone has their different perspective, and I could talk about stuff like, the common buzzwords like culture, but overall, there's a reason why it's so important. Is because all the stuff we just mentioned, and there's numerous cultures that
if you can show up every day and just be a good person, I think you surround yourself with enough of those, or you put enough of those good people in your program, the culture it'll fall into place pretty easily. Yeah, just be a good person. Be a good person.
You already helped that. Yeah.
Crush every aspect of life, right? Like, don't just show up for practice, or like show up to class, crush your workout, crush your relationships with your friends, peers, family. Just be a good person in every aspect of life, and then have 25 to 30 of them, or 18 for a basketball roster. The culture will dictate itself at that point.
Exactly. Because work or a sports team, you don't want to bring it with you. So don't let anything negative drag with you into that, because if you crush everything you do, You take care of your business. That's you that day. Hey, this is what I did to individually establish our culture in a positive way today. And I'm not bringing anything bad with me. I'm taking care of what I got to take care of. Now let's get to work. I'm not worried about anything else. So,
Yeah.
But hey, other than that, man, like I told you, man, it goes by quick. We're already an hour 13 just like that. But yeah, hey, like I said, episode 10, knew it was going to be special. We knew, yeah. Obviously, this won't be the last time you're on. We'll definitely get you back on. But overall, man, I think we touched on a lot of common things, but different perspectives. It's important to not give out the same perspectives on the common things that are talked about a lot. You got to give it other insight. Obviously, that's why it was great having you on, getting the baseball side of things, but also in general, just talking with you. I know what you're like from your angle of everything. It's going to be effective either way. But yeah, Mark Ryan, I really appreciate hopping on. We finally made it happen. Finally made it work.
I've been chomping at the bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And whoever, I know, me too, man. It's exciting. And hey, whoever's around the Binghamton area or even close, please check out Binghamton University baseball this year. You're not going to regret it.
Yeah.
Great program, great culture every day, but everything going on there is great. Please check it out. Awesome team, great coaching staff, everything about it. So, Marky, thanks again, man. Great episode 10. Appreciate you, dog. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time out of their day to give the P.U.M.P Podcast a listen. Please give us a follow on Instagram or TikTok at P.U.M.P_pod. You can also tune in on our YouTube or Spotify channels. Last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, concerns on any of the episodes or future episodes coming up, please email harringtonpump@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening and hope you can tune in soon.